us faith in our destiny. We solemnly declare, side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
So it's time to start your day, and it's time to start it right here on New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean, taking you above and beyond. Beautiful Monday morning it is, coming out of the weekend. I'm probably looking forward to the next weekend. It's a short week, a very short one at that too. So let me say good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, neighbors in the Caribbean, friends who are streaming all around the globe. Thank you very much for making us your choice. Each and every day you get up with us to the breakfast show, and we're happy to be here with you. I'm your host, Sir Charles, in your company. Happy am I to be here with you. Of course, this is how you get up and go, because this is your breakfast show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line. Let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Hi, good morning. It's Monday morning in Trinidad and Tobago, as it is in other parts of the globe, and we are welcoming you to the version of the breakfast show. This is a short week. It's the week of 2 holidays. I think we're just on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are public holidays, and we will be here. Well, not those 2 days, but we'll be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to give you some excellent programming. So good morning to everyone. How is the weather in your parts of the globe? I know it's pretty good in mine. So yes, morning to Charles. How are you? Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Wendell. Thank you so much. How are you
Good
doing?
morning, Richard. I know he just jumped offline for just a few seconds. So
Yeah.
I know he had a tough weekend.
What he really had it. You see his face this morning.
Yeah,
When he came on, you could see he
yeah.
tired.
It's a face of mother loves. Trust me. Mommy nice child.
Yes. But we're coming off of a beautiful weekend. It was Father's Day,
Mm-hmm.
so
Indeed it
happy
was. How
Father's
did
Day
you
to you.
spend your Father's Day?
Actually pretty good. I didn't really get to do much out of staying around, because you remember we are working remotely,
Mm-hmm.
so all the other elements have to be let in from where I am at. So
Right.
sometimes some days I can't
You
really
have
move.
working. You have working Sundays.
Yeah, and Sundays are long day, I find. Yeah, but other than that, it was nice. It's being thankful. Being around the children, and if you have a lunch, or Father's Day, we look over too much, but we still look out for lunch.
Yeah, true, true,
Yeah,
true, true.
yeah. So it was that kind. It was that kind of day.
Mhm.
And I
I
hope
had a
you
pretty
hope you
good
had a
one.
good one.
Yeah, I had a good one. I dress up nice, and I went out. Um, my nephew, my nephew and some friends took me out, and we had a really good time. A backyard party, you know,
Uh-huh.
with some nice people. At least it's a nice part of it's Long Island. I went. It's a place
Right.
called Elmont in Long Island, and even though it was a slight, yeah, every now and then you're getting a slight drizzle, nobody moved. No,
Eh,
Chinese when they have the summer months in North America, they do as much as they could.
Yeah.
They in their yard almost every day doing something, barbecuing, liming, whatever, because there is a time that they can't come outside. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah.
So they
Right.
really have a good time when they can. So it was nice. It was nice. It was different. I
Yeah.
don't go out much, but I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I'm hoping at some point in time we get back to that more of that, because I don't see it here as much as I used to before.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has sort of changed and gone indoors, gone in
Yeah.
some club, gone in some community center, gone in
Mm-hmm.
some special
Mm-hmm.
place.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the backyard things, you don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. True. 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 Especially with the reality that sometimes somebody could jump in our mall and come in and
That,
harass you. You
it's a
know?
it's a scary thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
a scary thing. Yeah. Every car that passes, that drop low, you're watching it.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
It was nice. Richard, how did you spend your Father's Day? Or what did your children do for you?
Oh, I was on stage, my theatre children. That's what you're
Oh,
talking
yes,
about.
you had your actual play yesterday too.
Yeah, we had to play over the weekend. So good morning, guys, and good morning to our listeners and viewers wherever you are.
Yeah, so I mean, we had to play this weekend, Married and Mischievous at Cipriani College, and of course, we had a fantastic time as usual with this play. You know, you know, every time you do a play, I suppose that's the thing with live performance. Every time you do a play on any night, you know, it's always a little different to the night before or what you would have done last week, the week before. It's always different. That's the thing about live performance. So even if you saw the play Saturday and you came Sunday, it's always slightly different because something else happened on stage or something different happened on stage. And of course, as you get close to the ending performances, some actors start to take liberty in being mischievous on stage, so to speak.
Okay.
So last night had a little mischievousness at my expense.
I bet it was Marie did it. Eh?
No, actually it was an ensemble screwing up, not screwing up, but you know, played around with me, so to speak. Because I didn't know. So I was like, what? And I said, Martin play, I don't want to give it away. And of course it was a little unexpected. And of course they were all laughing shamelessly, but covering their pieces. And that's part of having fun in live theater. The audiences had a wonderful time. I mean,
I can very much.
Both Saturday and Sunday, people had a wonderful time. As I say, there's a point in this play where the audience is actually screaming. I kid you not, it's screaming. But you could see if you go on RSR Productions theater page, you could see all the comments of people who come to the show. You can see that I am not kidding. I'm not trying to sell the show. You can see what people are saying.
I can imagine there were more people who were gobsmacked yesterday.
Absolutely. I was Father's Day, so we gave away some hampers and stuff to fathers in the crowd. Yeah, we did. We did all of that. And we had courtesy some sponsors. We had free alcohol for fathers and their dates.
Okay.
Everybody got free drinks.
You had yesterday at where was the play?
At Cipriani College.
Cipriani?
So those who were present, you know, they had some sponsors present. I think.
Oh, so you see, people, that is something you have to take note. Go on the holidays.
It was fun. Well, we have 3 more shows actually. So on the 4th and 5th of July, which is Friday the 4th and Saturday the 5th of July, we actually ending the show in Port of Spain at Queen's Hall.
Okay.
So Queen's Hall. Finally, we go back to Port of Spain. I mean, we've been at Cipriani College 7 times.
You've not done it in Queen's Hall, have you?
We have done it in Queen's Hall.
You did, okay.
But this is the second time you're going back to Port of Spain, and a lot of Port of Spain people were clamoring for the place to come back. So we're going back on Friday the 4th and Saturday the 5th. So Friday the 4th of July for those Americans, Saturday the 5th of July, we'll be in Queen's Hall. On Sunday the 6th will be the final show, and that'll be at Sapa. Where we began is where we shall end the show.
Okay.
So it'll be a weekend of shows, 2 in North and 1 in South. 4th and 5th in Queen's Hall and Sunday the 6th in Sapa. And of course, tickets will go on sale this weekend at all outlets in South and North. And that would be it for Married and Mischievous. So if you didn't see it, you didn't get a chance to see it, your days to see it are winding down. So but it's great fun.
All right, good to hear. Well, all right, let's get into our good news segment. As I say, it's a short week this week. We only just have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to provide our show. So we have to kind of stuff in a lot there. The PNM internal elections is coming up the following week.
When exactly is that one?
It's the 22nd, which is weekend coming.
Oh, okay.
We're going to try to get a couple of the candidates in this week and just find out what are their plans or whatever. Some of the new people. I want to try to get new people. You know, not the folks everybody knows.
There's also a lot of bacchanal happening with regard to. There's several things happening. In the sense of there's an Auditor General issue where the Prime Minister is basically telling the Minister of Finance, I guess, is she commanding the Auditor General? But you can't really command the Auditor General, but because the Auditor General is an independent post. But I think she's telling the Auditor General to do the audit of Central Bank. Of course, Central Bank has had external auditors since 2023. Prior to that, the Auditor General would have done it for the last 13 years. But in 2023, the Central Bank changed the external auditors. EOD, I think, is the auditors. subject to correction, but I think that's who the auditors are. And of course, it's not sitting where the Prime Minister and she's saying the Auditor General should be doing the audit and is basically saying Auditor General go in and do the audit of Central Bank.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work out because Central Bank is also, pretty independent.
Yes.
In large part. As things are independent in Trinidad, let me qualify it by saying that. and then you also have, so that's one issue. You also have that at the repeal of the Revenue Authority bill that was before Parliament, Colm Imbert, the Minister of Finance, spoke, and he was very condemning, I guess, of the current government in terms of their revenue acquisition, where you're getting revenue from. I think, and basically he was saying you won't be able to run the country unless you get revenue sources. And basically, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he's saying that they were basically shooting themselves in the foot by repealing the Revenue Authority.
Well, we spoke that already.
Yeah, and that the $5 billion that is not being paid in VAT is one of the issues, and the Revenue Authority was to deal with that gap and other gaps in terms of tax collection. And so he felt it was a mistake, but very strongly worded, because he said that we were living, and I quote, in La La Land. So stuff like that is what Colm Imbert said with regard to the financial situation. And you had, there seems to be a suggestion, now there is no actual proof, but the government hasn't said anything as yet, but the new coat of arms with the steel ban, there is some commentary because the current Minister of Finance, Minister Tancoo, has halted the
rollout of the new bills.
Of the new $100 bills with the coat of arms. Yeah, they halted the printing. And of course, at some of the press conferences, it was the old coat of arms. So there's some people are speculating, do they have a problem with the steel ban being there? We don't know. And of course, Mr. Tancoo has promised to come on this program at some point. So hopefully, he could clear up what that position is, or clarify exactly what the state's position is in how they see revenue and how they're going to deal with the economy. Because of course they will have a plan. They're responsible individuals. So I'm assuming that they will have a plan in terms of revenue collection, etc., etc.
But is it that they've indicated that they don't want the steel pan and the coat of arms? I don't remember.
No, I say they didn't say anything like that. So it's all speculation. It's all speculation, really.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is speculation because it was a subject of commentary in media yesterday.
Yes, because they used the old coat of arms on emblem on their press conferences.
Yes.
Apparently.
I didn't see too many of the press conferences because I've been busy with it. But that's what you're hearing. So it's something to clarify and clear up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And of course, we will still try to get Minister Tancoo on to speak to these issues and in moving forward. But of course, today we have Karen Nunez-Tesheira, who's a former Minister of Finance, who's going to weigh in on those issues, the issue of the Auditor General and the audit of the Central Bank, and the issue, of course, of revenue collection and the Revenue Authority, because I think the Revenue Authority first materialized under her stewardship.
Yes.
So she will weigh in on those issues this morning in the next hour. So you can look forward to that conversation. Of course, Karen Nunez-Tesheira is not shy on what her opinions are on anything.
At all. But one of the good news, of course, that came out over the last few days is that all members of Parliament supported the appointment of the new Commissioner of Police, who I'm sure that came as a surprise to everybody. The fact that Alistair Guevara was unanimously chosen as the next commissioner. I wonder, when is that supposed to happen, though?
Yeah, when is the formal appointment? I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure. So he's like the designate.
Yes. Yeah. Remember, when we ended the interview with Martin George on Friday, I did say the fact that his name was proposed a few days prior and there was nothing that came out negatively on him. You understand? No dirt that came out on him. That was a good sign. I did say that, even though I didn't expect them to go with him, honestly. But it was a good sign that no negative, no dirt came out on him in those days. And that's always a good thing because he's an unknown, at least to us. To most in the media, he's an unknown. So congratulations, Alistair Guevara. We also reached out to him, and we will have him on our show. Don't worry.
Hopefully.
But interesting enough, also, Wendell, because even though nothing came out where he was concerned, there was a lot of crosstalk between the last administration, this administration, and what happened with the Police Service Commission.
Yeah.
So it was like,
But
trying to restore confidence in the Police Service Commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Police Service Commission at the end of the day can claim a victory because they made a recommendation and it was accepted, without bacchanal, I should say,
Yeah. Which speaks to exactly what Martin George was actually saying too. I mean, when these are the people who are given the responsibility, engage the expertise, and come up with a police commissioner, a name, and then people in Parliament reject it. So
yeah, it's a part.
I think this was a good move.
Yeah. So
that it was unanimous is a good sign that both parties, both sides of the aisles,
Yeah, of course, the politics will always be played, but I mean, at the end of the day, they agreed, and that's the end of that, I think, hopefully. So congratulations to the incoming Commissioner, Alistair Guevara.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's get to our good news at this point.
Into the Nollies Tunnel in Trinidad, hidden in the picturesque village of Tabaquite, is Nollies Tunnel, the largest man-made tunnel found in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It was built in 1898 entirely out of concrete, and its purpose was to expand access for the growing cocoa industry in Tabaquite via the Trinidad government railways, making it cheaper to transport across the island. The maiden run on the Caparo Valley line occurred on Saturday, 20th August 1898. On that day, a train carrying 220 eager passengers, many of whom were dignitaries, left the Port of Spain railway station for the journey through this country's only tunnel. The tunnel was christened Nollies Tunnel after the then-acting governor, Sir Clement Courtenay Nolly. The last train rolled through the Nollies Tunnel on Monday, August 30th, 1965.
So I thought I would play that. I've never been to Nollies Tunnel.
Where is it,
but in Tabaquite.
Yeah.
Tabaquite.
Yeah. I've never been to it, but you've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
I'm sure maybe there's some Trinidadians that have not heard of it. But it is supposed to be one of the sites to visit. It does look pretty picturesque in that video from Afzal Abdul. So let me mention the creator's name, Afzal Abdul. That's some really good drone footage of different parts of the islands. So that was from his content on TikTok. But yeah, so I said let me show Nollies Tunnel because some people may not be familiar with it. Yeah. It is something to visit,
Yeah. There was a time that PTSC was offering some tours to go to places like that, but I don't know what we came with. I don't know if it's because people, Trinidadians funny. They may not really be picking it up. It may not have been book solid, and eventually they just stop. But they were offering something and I think it's something that they probably should look into again. Yeah.
I think I don't know if they still have it, but I know they have all sorts of different tours and excursions to different parts of the country. I saw one from the Historical Society of Trinidad and Tobago, where they were doing like a Western tour, and they were like going down the islands and doing the history of down the islands and stuff like that. I saw that advertised on. Yeah. Is it the Historical Society? I think it was.
Yeah. We need to advertise it like a carnival fete.
So. Well, no, there are people who subscribe to those things, And I know there's a Toko, how would you call it?
Foundation.
No, there's a Toko tour, but it's like I want to call it an eating tour, but it's something like that.
Okay.
Where they go to different points, eventually having lunch and stuff like that, and visiting this kind of estate and stuff like that. So you have all these sorts of things going on. You have a parliament tour too. They do parliament tours where you can have lunch and stuff like that. So there are different types of tours to different parts of the island. Right? Island.
Well, I had a group of family members. First time they came to Trinidad. Well, most of them, that is. One or two have come often, but 34 of them came from both Miami and Boston last week. And we had a little gathering by me in St. James on Thursday. But 34 of them are here, members of the Stephen family from other parts of the globe. You know, I found that amazing. I said, Karen, how you managed to put this together? 34 of you
get together there at some point.
Well, they went visiting different places. They all stayed at the Hyatt first to begin with. I said, I don't know how they managed that. I said they all stayed at the Hyatt and they organized for taxis to take them to different points. So all those places that you call in there, including Parliament, they went up there, you know, and then they visited, because the first time a lot of them are seeing members of the family in Trinidad. You know, so they went visiting members of the family in Trinidad.
So you're not having one big family get together?
No, we didn't have one big family get together.
Oh, I thought
they came with as a group and they went to the different places and went to the different
Yeah, Trinity stopover.
Yeah. They all left yesterday to go back to. You know, I found that amazing. It's something that we always wanted to do. And I think we might very well try to do it. I don't know if we'll go North America because we have so many family all over the place, you know. But we want to do it. Anyway, let me greet some folks on our chat this morning. Ramnarish came in first at 4:47. He says, happy belated Father's Day to all. Brennan Smith from Goodwood in Tobago. Ingrid from Tucson, Arizona. Suzanne Jessup came in at 5:25. Good morning from Suzanne, Suzette, and Mrs. Gemma. And as we say, Mrs. Gemma, at the very end of our program on Friday, of course, we gave you the news that Gemma Richards, aka Funky Gemma, aka Swanky Gemma, passed away on Friday last. You know, so we always remember her as a gem. We used to call her our gem. You know. She passed away on Friday, so condolences to the family again. Marlon Motley says, good morning all. Lennox Francois, good morning, gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. Boy Bidesi from Debe, good morning, everyone. Lennox Francois from Baltimore. Pearl Codis from Brazil Village. Wendy Ann James says, have a great day. Joyce Phillips, top of the morning. Marcia Rock says, good morning, and it's her birthday. Marcia Rock is locked on in Orlando, Florida. Happy birthday, Marcia.
Happy birthday, Marcia.
Yes, she's been an ardent fan of the Power of the Breakfast Show.
Hope you have a fantastic birthday today.
Yeah, I hope you do. I'm sure Orlando weather is perfect. Good morning from Doreen Pear from Gastonia in North Carolina. Robert Taylor in Fernandina Beach, Florida. Ozzy Molino says good morning. Sherwin and Juliet Kerr. Sherwin, whether you put Juliet name in or I saying it, I saw you. You ought to bring some kind of papers to prove to me you and Juliet ain't together again. Right? So good morning from Sherwin and Juliet. Brent Hackshaw says good morning. Wayne Ramsey from Fort Lauderdale. Cheryl Silly says good morning. Wendell, Richard, and St. Charles. Kathy Ann Charles, of course, from Cascade. I keep saying Cascade, and I'm not sure if it's Cascade or St. Anne's, Kathy Ann. I think it's Cascade. Ann Noel from Oshawa in Ontario. David Alexander says, morning, Trini is still the most informative station in the Caribbean. Good balance. Thank you very much, David. Shuma Paul says, good morning. Lambert Bruce from El Dorado. Carol Guevara from Central Trinidad. Patricia Defoe. Slick Money Grip says, good morning, gentlemen and crew. Garvin Frank from Powder Magazine. Carol S. says, good morning. Great interviews. I love it. Odell Guy says, good morning. Alistair Hart from San Fernando. Kathy Ann Charles says she'll be at Queens Hall, Richard. That's right around the corner from her. Rena Jennings from Pitti Valley. Morning, Rena. Julia Batiste. Ron DeSantis Jr. from Norfolk in Virginia. The crumbling and past. What is that, Ron? Donna Ramlo Chan Felix Kazo, Candice Pascal, Donna Ramno Chan says good morning again. Robert Harper, Stellar Services, good morning. Guys, Charmaine from New York. Good morning, guys. Charmaine from New York. Is it Charmaine at Stellar Services? I'm not sure. Subhash Mangal, Joyce Phillip, from day one, there was a saying they wanted TASA, but it's not a national issue. Yeah, but I don't know that that was ever taken. That was serious debate then. I hope not. Melchizedek says good morning. Trini gets fit. Carol S says, okay, PTSC also does tours as well as the National Trust.
Maybe there's a National Trust. I would say the Historical Society, but maybe it's national.
Yeah, it might be themselves.
Yes. Now, Island Girl also confirms this National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago. All right, Hillbenj, Island Girl says Pineapple Fields, Young Table and Cocoa Estate and Devil's Wood Yard. Cheryl Henry, Ekaro to all. All right. Beauty Culture says good morning. Wendy, and is there a fire on Frederick Street? Well, neither one of us in a position to check. But I'm sure it will come up on
social media. Social media has everything.
Social media is going to pick it up. Just not. Just me. Yeah. Ambrose Blas says good morning. And Scat Consulting Services, Chris Tusse is heading back out today. All right. He's heading back out from the funeral of his uncle. All right. So safe travels, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me say good morning to Angela. I'm not sure where Angela is for, but she's on the chat. So good morning to you. Also to Margaret Thomas. Good morning. Well, Suzanne is always here also. Good morning, Suzanne. Terry Ann Peters, good morning to you. And of course, your husband. You guys have a good day. Frank Andrews is out there in Aruka. Good morning to Frank. I find out it was Frank last name, all right?
Andrews.
Also to Kent. To Archbishop Ashton Clark, Slick Money Grip, Oliver, I'm not sure where Oliver is for, and Aisha. Good morning. Aisha is out there in Atlanta, I think it is. Good morning to you, people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we still have some more in the main comment section because we have Eva Smith.
Oh, we do? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, my apologies. Eva Smith, Chevon Shogun, Ray, long time to hear from. Brenda Isaac from Santa Cruz, Garfield Hazel, happy belated Father's Day to the crew. Guys, when you mentioned Funky Gemma, DJ Gabby, yes, that was her husband, comes to mind. Her son is actually Gabby Jr. Gabby Jr. DJ Gabby. Yes. Magic also says good morning. Jaron Joseph, good morning. And Diane Payne. And Jaron Joseph says, wishing you a pleasant day and productive week ahead. All right, so those are all our messages thus far on the chat, and I'm sure it'll get very fiery later on in the morning, as it always does. All right.
So of course, this is the point at which we will get to our main headlines in the newspapers this morning. I don't have newspapers this morning, guys, so we're going to have to all do a newspaper. I could do the Newsday, I guess. And then we could maybe do the Express.
I can find the Express. I'll find the Express.
So Charles could do the Guardian.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Who going first?
Go ahead, Wendell.
You want me to go first? I'll find it first.
I see you ready with the thing.
Yeah.
All right. The headlines in today's Express reads, where did it go? Bound and killed. A man was found dead with multiple signs of, what is that? I have to open the story. Okay, let me not open the story. Bound and killed, that's by Alexander Bruzoil. National Mental Health Plan needed. Run feast, of course, that's in cricket. Yesterday, West Indies made 250, just over 250 in their 20-over game against Ireland. Shambolic display by TNT, that's the Trinidad and Tobago senior men's football team. All right, and of course, there's an article that I sent for you guys this morning that I found very interesting. With the Minister of Transport is proposing end of traffic transport woes. He says it's less traffic, more buses, and tighter drone rules. Big changes are underway, promises Transport Minister Eli Zaku, who says it is time to modernize how we move in Trinidad and Tobago. And the very first comment that I totally agreed with is that you need to decentralize government services. That's what you need to do. And of course, stagger work hours. I don't know how else they're going to fix traffic in Trinidad and Tobago, right? But we could also discuss that at some point in time, right? So that's it for today's Express.
And I could do the Newsday. Which headline should I go with? Boy, the headline is kind of funny. But anyway,
quickly, Richard, before you go, there's a confirmation that there is a fire on Frederick Street, a casino on Frederick between Park and Duke Street. The casino was on fire between Park and Duke Street. All right. So somebody also sent footage of it. Lincoln, thanks, Lincoln. Morning.
Yeah.
Okay. But
I saw you when had the big Buddha opposite Royal Castle.
Well, email the footage from you and then we could show
I'm going to do that now, sir.
Yeah, email it, not WhatsApp it.
I'm going to do that now, sir.
All right, you know. I have to talk to him like an older person, message, and you're about to email, right?
You know, because my phone sometimes, I would get the option, eh?
What?
No, when I
What?
press thing,
And of course you can email something from your phone, I mean.
When you put share, you're supposed to be able to get all those things.
That's how I normally get it. But sometimes the word share doesn't come up.
Go up to the three dots. Go up to the three dots on the top. And you should get another share there.
The three dots is the three dots I'm using. But all I'm getting is pin and report in that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, download the video to your phone and then email it.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Go ahead.
All right. So anyway, the merit point system stays as transport policy under review. I'm just going through Malabar uneasy as man killed and thrown out of car. U.S. mulch travel ban. Gonzalez warns region about selling passports. Closure at last. Family of murdered teen says goodbye 2 months later. Father Rat balancing fatherhood with politics. I saw a picture of him and his daughter. They had a picture yesterday, I think, in the newspapers. Cute little girl. Residents, youths driving up crime in Faizabad. Christopher Muhammad needs help to fight cancer fight and critical issues in Caribbean museums. There are some of the headlines in the Newsday today, and I'll send you over to Sir Charles. Ministry probes alleged abuse of disabled children. Lecturer at Kwame Ture series at the Heart of Revolution. Standing Finance Committee meets on June 16th, which is today. And Beckles PNM quality in Parliament beats UNC quantity. Okay, so that's some of the headlines in the newspapers this morning. This is the Newsday. Over to you on the Guardian, Sir Charles.
Yes, guys. This Guardian, well, they said the ads are open up when they open the thing.
Yeah, I know. It annoys. It annoys.
Yeah, it's real annoying, boy. All right, so be careful when confronting criminals. That is a security and firearms expert is warning that there could be serious legal repercussions for owners, right? So be careful. I suppose all that is for stand your ground. Murdered man thrown out of car in Ariba. And then there's another story. We have lost our way, and it shows the opposition leader with members of the party. Apparently they had some special meeting. Further funding for 2025 budget being sought in Parliament today. We gotta find money.
The meeting was members of the opposition. We have lost our way. Is that okay?
I'll just give it a little party just now. And Fali, Rowley praise each other in rare moment. Did you see that story, Wendell? What Fali and Dr. Like they had some kind of press kind of conference together,
Recently?
Yeah.
What would Dr. Oli be doing in a press conference?
Well, apparently they have a sit down like this, like them sitting down here on a stage and talking to people.
Oh, okay. That's great then.
Yes. And just to give you a little bit of the story, if the ads won't interrupt it too much about the opposition, right? Opposition lead up on every Beckles and the ads coming up. Oh my word. But there's a picture of the opposition leader, Ms. Beckles. speak to party supporters at a 1 p.m. meeting in Philippines, South Trinidad. I don't know when it came up, when that happened, because of the amount of ads that the news that the Guardian have popping up online. Yeah, and that's it.
This thing is not allowing me to share as a email.
What's that?
It's not allowing me to share it as an email at all. It's allowing me to forward it, so I forwarded it to the chat, but it's not giving me the option to share as an email at all.
All right, okay. Well, once you put it in the chat, Richard can forward it to himself.
Be a fixer. Easy tech, man. I don't know why he's trying to stress me out anymore.
What I do, all I said was, could you kindly email the video for me, and that was it.
I know, but it's not giving me the option at all. We have Mrs. R said it was a Bishop's 100th anniversary, so that's why they were both there. Dr. Oli and Mr. Augustine were at Bishop's High School 100th anniversary celebration. All right. Thanks also Helen Prescott too. Right. Where did I reach? Good morning, Cheryl M, and good morning. Who else came on? Carlisle Cupid, even New York with its extensive rail and listen, New York is frustrating sometimes, Carlisle Cupid. David Ware says the laughing. Here we have
That's the footage you're looking at live of the client actually, but it's not live, but recent footage.
Because the street is blocked off, so the person couldn't get to it. But that's not fire.
It looked like a pretty big fire.
That's right. That's close to City Hall.
No, but if it's between Park,
Between Duke and Park.
yeah,
Right, it's the block up from City Hall.
yeah, just on the other side of it.
Yeah, it will be the block up from.
Yeah, but that was our abandoned building.
Yeah, it's been closed for a while.
Yeah. Maybe some probably hope the person that set it on fire. Probably he was cooking in the kitchen.
It's like a pretty big fire though. So please getting under control at this point. Because this is when it was a little darker. So this was earlier in the morning, but of course we're not so sure what it's like at this point. I don't know if anybody has even more current footage.
Yeah.
But that's what's taking place right now on Frederick Street. Guys, on Frederick. If you're on your commute on Frederick Street, you know what's going on. So alternative routes avoid upper Frederick Street. I'd avoid Frederick Street altogether, quite frankly.
Yeah, stay away from Frederick.
Stay away from Frederick Street. If you're on a commute and you're listening to us in your car, avoid Frederick Street, avoid that uptown area. Go way east or way west is what I would suggest. Yeah, so of course somebody sent things come to your mailbox. I went outside and I picked it up. And somebody's saying that the Auditor General, in terms of that central bank issue, central bank did not remove the Auditor General from doing the audit. Auditor General removed themselves. And central bank had to scramble to get external auditors.
That was probably when in the middle of the impasse with the Auditor General and the Minister of Finance.
That has nothing to do with central bank.
No, I'm saying it probably happened during that time also.
Well, I don't know. It was in 2023.
Right.
That seemed to be more for 2024 issue because that played out a lot of last year.
Okay.
Last year. But this is 2023 when that happened. And the report coming to me from the piece of paper that somebody just dropped in my mailbox is that
that she removed herself.
That the Auditor General removed themselves from auditing the central bank, and the central bank was forced to get external auditors, which gives a different context to this.
So what happened? What is happening?
Because it seems from the narrative as if the central bank removed the Auditor General. And so therefore, and the Prime Minister is saying, well, you go back and do the audit, basically. So So it's very if
Well, I think
whoever that person is that dropped this piece of paper in my mailbox, whoever you are, if that is true, it certainly gives a different contextual light to the
well, Richard, when I first saw the story, I didn't completely read it, but I got the impression that the Prime Minister was not pleased with the action of the Auditor General. That's how I read it. And she was almost instructing her, listen, you need to go back and do what you're supposed to do. That's how I interpreted it.
That's not how I read it at all.
No, yeah, that's how
I read it. I read it as though the central bank was flexing its own independent muscles and said they did not want the Auditor General anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
I think that's how a lot of people would have read it.
Well, now we know that that's not so.
Yeah. Well, they're both.
According to your source.
They're both in a sense, as independent. They're both independent institutions. The independent, the central bank governors an independent position, and so is the Auditor General. And the two institutions have a certain amount of independence within how independent you get, as I say, within a Trinidad and Tobago landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that the Prime Minister can order or suggest or strongly recommend to the Auditor General to do the audit.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. I don't know that
you got that story at all. You have that story available. Maybe Mr. When we speak with Mr. Shearer, she'll clear that.
Yeah, she can clear it up.
Yeah,
she'll be following it.
I'm sure she'll be happy to clear it.
Yeah, she'll be clearing it up. But anyway, so we'll find out from her what's her perspective on that entire issue.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I know the Prime Minister quoted certain sections of the Act, according to what I read, that seemed to imply that the state can suggest what they're suggesting in terms of doing the audit. Mm-hmm. But as I said, I didn't, even though you may have read it that way, I didn't read it that way at all. Yeah. I felt the narrative seemed to indicate that the central bank, after 13 years of the Auditor General doing the audit, said, we don't want you anymore, we're moving to external auditors. That's how it came across. But this piece of paper that just came to my mailbox says, no, that's not what happened. Auditor General removed themselves, and the central bank was forced to get external auditors.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it all plays out. Never a dull moment, is it?
Look, I'm seeing this story here. It says the Prime Minister demands accountability in terms of the auditor, and she wants answers over billions unaccounted for in 2024 audit. So there is a story on it. I probably could share this too.
But we could be going up. We can open up the lines at this point for our listeners to get involved. Before we go to our morning poll, and you can come up in a morning poll. I didn't, of course, I would have been late getting home last night.
Mm-hmm. Wendell is the poll man.
Well, so, we could ask about the coat of arms, because that's also is going to be an explosive story when it takes traction. You understand? If it is that they're not using the steel pan on the coat of arms anymore. You understand?
Well, frame the poll and send it WhatsApp like you.
I'll do that, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome.
Hello.
Morning, Dabby.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning to you, Wendell.
Morning.
So, I thought the same too as Richard. I thought the Prime Minister was suggesting that the Auditor General go back to the central bank, and the central bank was given trouble. So I say, well, oh gosh, our next thing brewing here now. So that means just now we might be seeing a new central bank governor. That's what I thought, when I heard the remarks coming from the Prime Minister. So here's something else now. Others heard that as well. But I say, well, if we heard that in the news before, that the central bank had done that because the Auditor General refused to do such, how come the Prime Minister, this current Prime Minister, doesn't know that? So, I say there's a back on a brain. And also, I don't want to go into details, but after Friday's Parliament that finished at like 1:15 a.m., I wonder how many of those, again, we will be seeing. So I guess that most of those MPs then go home in their bed and sleep. They sleep elsewhere in Port of Spain. Just saying, have a good morning.
Okay. I really what it is you're suggesting there. Hello, good morning to you, caller. Hello, good morning.
Someone is saying, Chevron Chogan is also saying that the Frederick Street is functioning. That happened early in the morning. So cars are flowing on Frederick Street at this point.
Okay, well, thanks for giving us that update.
Right. Zina, are you there with us?
Yes, I am here. Good morning.
Go ahead.
Charles, you don't take calls on different phones other than your phone there.
No, what this
On
is.
the WhatsApp.
No,
because I've been trying since before they even see open lines.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I want you to remind Richard and Wendell to keep Miss Tesheira in line according to what the topic they want to discuss. I don't want to hear what Mr. Manning used to do. All right.
I do understand that.
Pardon me?
We don't understand what you're saying.
Go ahead, Auntie Zina. Go ahead, Auntie Zina.
I heard about Miss Penny going to some meeting in Philippines, but why wasn't she at did I miss her being present at the parliament? Was she at the parliament on Friday? Did anyone know for sure? Because I didn't think I heard her there and make any contribution on Friday, which was the very first day that they started. So trying to understand what really took place there. That is my beef. I don't understand the start of that parliament. And according to Richard, I came on the story with the Auditor General. That is exactly how it came across to me. So the media has to be careful how they put out things for people to understand. Because it sounded like it's the central bank that didn't want the Auditor General there. So they had to put things in proper perspective, how the things happen, and don't try to tell a story and make it, into a big brouhaha. Anyhow, good morning to all those locked on. CJ, I hope you're feeling better. Send a message late, but I didn't get you. Morning to everybody, Rena, everybody.
Okay, thanks very much.
And just to confirm, Zina, people have said in the chat that Penelope Beckers-Johnson was in the country, was in the parliament.
It was in the parliament.
She didn't make a contribution, but apparently she was in the parliament.
Okay.
I can't
Good morning, caller.
in the parliament unless she's
Good
ill.
morning, gentlemen. Pinal here.
Morning.
Morning, Mr.
Yeah. So Charles, are you hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I heard the headline there about people have to be careful about shooting bandits and whatnot, and I want to say that I agree with that. I would love people to stay within the law, which is why I support expanding the law so that to shoot at bandits. I believe people should be shooting at bandits, but there has to be some kind of restriction on that. It can't just be free cheat. You don't want to be murdering people. But we can expand the opportunity to shoot at bandits, which brings me to the bandits. They are shooting at you. Why are you putting yourself in a position where people can legally shoot you to death or to serious injury or to all kinds of misery? As a bandit, you have to rethink your position now. Do not put yourself, I am hearing everywhere, the caution is going to the shooter. I am saying let the caution go to the shootee. If you are likely to be shot as a bandit, you may want to desist. That would be my advice. Thank you so much, Charles.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
We're still taking your calls before we get to our morning poll. So 281-1315, 281-1315. You can, of course, call us and give us your opinion on some of the topics we discussed.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cassie.
I was just calling to say that the opposition leader was in the parliament, but she left like about 8 p.m.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we got that on the chat too.
She wasn't there for the rest of the sitting.
She wasn't there for the
Nor
rest
was the Prime Minister.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Kathy. Yeah.
So they weren't part of the vote then, the voting process at the end.
Yeah. People are watching you guys. People are watching you guys and an eager eye.
You have the actual story where the they had put a hold on the issuing of the new $100 bills with the coat of arms. With the new coat of arms.
Yesterday's papers. You just have to look it up.
So that's where we do our poll, because it's based on a true story. All right.
Yeah. All right. Good morning to you.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Mr. Martin.
Listen, you see that school fight outside Southeast? I looked at an interview with the mother of the girl who was beaten and sent to the hospital. You see that school fight? It has more in it. Based on what the mother is saying, if you see the behavior of that lady at the Sinclair police station, I say, my God, because this situation, only a school fight, is one of the girl's father, like he leave the mother and went with the one of the girl who was beaten, and the whole thing is a whole bacchanal, and police officer threatening. Oh, Jesus Christ, the woman sleep 2 days in the police station because she says she afraid to go back in she house in Gonzales, she can't live in, because she getting death threat. What the hell is this? No, man, this thing is madness. You'll have a good day.
All right.
Yeah, thanks very much. Well, the father, who is a police officer, did indicate that situation, that it was basically a lot of unresolved issues that caused that. So, like somebody.
That's the one with the daughter and the stepdaughter or something.
Yeah, and I think the cousin by him take the fight.
He's a police officer, and the mother is a police officer too, eh?
I'm not too sure about the mother, but I know I hear him as a police officer.
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah. So they had some unresolved issues, and I think another cousin who goes to the school pick up the fight.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. Let's do the poll now.
Yeah, when Richard ready, I don't know what he doing. What is he doing?
He must be tweaking the
I don't know if he counting money or something.
I'm trying to keep it close to what the article says. I send the article in the chat because I'm efficient that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tancoo halts printing of new $100 bill. Okay, it says Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo has instructed the central bank to halt printing of new $100 polymer bills, which features Trinidad and Tobago's redesigned coat of arms with the pan in place of the Columbus ship. So that's where we'll poll it. Do you support the hold on the printing of the new banknotes with the revised coat of arms? That's our poll this morning. Right? The Minister of Finance has instructed the central bank to stop printing the bills with the new coat of arms. So let me hush. Let me hush.
Don't try and affect the poll.
Yeah, I won't. So do you support
the hold on the printing of the new banknotes with the revised coat of arms? Of course, the revised coat of arms, if you're living under a rock, is of course the steel pan inclusion into the coat of arms and the removal of the three ships.
Mm-hmm.
So do you support the hold on the printing of new banknotes with the revised coat of arms? That's our poll this morning.
All right. We have some votes already, Richard. When you ready?
I am ready.
Diane Payne says no. Rena Roberts, no. In Ramnarish, yes. No surprise. Joyce Phillip, no. Trini Gets Fit, no. Josie Richardson, no. Tanisha Lewis, no. Alistair Hart says no. Boy Bidesi, no. Stellar Services, no. J97, no. Lennox Francois, no. Trinidad and Tobago Today, that's a new name come up. Yes. Carol Guevara, no. Finbar Collins, no. Ambrose Bland, no. Ava Smith, no.
All right. Caller, what say you?
Morning again.
Do you support?
But I say hell no. And people like and share the program, please. Miss Phillips always begging for that. Like and share it.
Like and share. Yeah, go to YouTube and like and share. Thank you very much, Zena.
I just have two more, Richard, before we go to the news. Cheryl Henry, no. Beauty Culture, no. Kazim Mohammed, no. Brennan Smith, no. Khalil Cupid, no. All right. So we'll stop there. We'll continue from Lester Cragwell when we come back, right?
Okay. All right. So we go straight to our news, and when we come back, we'll give you the rest of the votes coming in. You can vote throughout the newscast, which will be nice, people. All right. So we will be back shortly.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
Good day. This is news on New Era TT Radio and M and ETV. I'm Derek, in for Amanda today, who has the day off. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has directed Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo to use the law to ensure the Auditor General audits the central bank's accounts. Speaking in Parliament, she raised concern over reports that the Auditor General no longer audits the central bank, which instead hired private firm BDO Tan-T for the 2024 fiscal year. Auditor General Jaiwandi Ramdas also reported difficulties accessing government financial data managed by the bank. Persad-Bissessar cited Section 52 of the Central Bank Act, which empowers the Finance Minister to mandate the Auditor General to conduct such audits. She insisted this is a legal requirement, not an option. Calling for transparency, she urged, do not hide the accounts, and challenged officials to follow the law in the public interest. Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo has ordered the central bank to halt printing of Trinidad and Tobago's newly redesigned $100 polymer banknote, which was set to feature the national coat of arms with the steel pan replacing Columbus ships. Speaking to the media on Sunday, Minister Tancoo confirmed the suspension, but did not disclose the reason behind the decision. The central bank has since instructed its UK-based printer, De La Rue, to stop all work related to the new note, which was scheduled for circulation by October 2025. The halt follows signs of tension between the central bank and the government, as Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar recently called for an audit of the bank's accounts, citing long-standing concerns from the Auditor General over access to key financial systems. This marks the second delay in the bill's rollout. The first came after the previous administration under Dr. Keith Rowley moved to replace the colonial-era ships with the steel pan on the national emblem. The current $100 polymer note from 2019 remains in circulation. Former Finance Minister Colm Imbert has accused the new UNC-led government of living in La La Land, warning that their decision to repeal the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, TTRA, will cripple efforts to boost revenue collection. Speaking in Parliament on Friday, Imbert slammed Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo, claiming he was relying on a magic wand approach to fix long-standing issues in customs and inland revenue without the tools or political will to succeed. Imbert said without the semi-autonomous TTRA, the government will face massive budget deficits and warned that it won't be able to raise the $60 to $70 billion needed to cover its election promises. He disputed the claim that only 32% of staff opted to transfer to the TTRA, saying 75% made a choice under the Act, including nearly 50% who transferred directly to the authority. San Fernando East MP Brian Manning echoed Imbert's warnings, predicting that if the TTRA is scrapped, debt and economic hardship will follow. The TTRA was introduced by the previous administration to modernize and improve tax collection efficiency. The Ministry of People, Social Development and Family Services has launched an urgent probe into videos circulating on social media, allegedly showing abuse and neglect of disabled children at a church-run children's home in Trinidad and Tobago. The footage includes scenes of children lying unattended on the ground, one outside in the sun, and another being shouted at by a staff member. In some clips, caregivers appear to be sleeping or inattentive. The Children's Authority has begun an immediate investigation, including interviews with staff and residents and inspections of the facility, some of which will be unannounced. The ministry has pledged to treat the issue with the highest urgency. Acting Police Commissioner Junior Benjamin also vowed to look into the matter, saying, "We need to ensure we protect our children. Meanwhile, a source claims the videos were compiled by a disgruntled ex-employee aiming to discredit the institution. Trinidad and Tobago's next top cop has been confirmed. Senior Superintendent Alistair Guevara received unanimous support in Parliament on Friday to become the country's new Commissioner of Police. Speaking after the vote, Guevara vowed to confront crime head-on and make every place in Trinidad and Tobago safe, acknowledging urgent issues such as school violence, gang influence, firearm crime, and public distrust in policing. He also pledged to work with the media and stakeholders across society. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar endorsed Guevara's appointment, slamming the previous administration for allegedly subverting the cop selection process and failing to uphold public trust. Attorney General John Jeremy also took aim at the former government, accusing it of interfering in police appointments, remarks that drew desk-thumping support from government MPs. Despite sharp exchanges in the House, opposition MPs, including Marvin Gonzalez, voiced support for Guevara, calling him professional and independent. Guevara now steps into the role with broad political backing and the nation watching. The discovery of 20-year-old Savannah Dyer's body in Carlson Field has reignited fears that the rural community is becoming a dumping ground for murder victims. Dyer, who was from Diego Martin, was found with marks of violence on Sheary's Road by the TPS Predial Larceny Squad early Saturday morning. Police suspect she was killed elsewhere and left in the area. Residents and farmers expressed deep concern, saying crime in the area has surged. Shiraz Khan, a farmer and past victim of crime, highlighted poor lighting and road conditions as major factors enabling criminal activity. He called for urgent action beyond just police patrols. ACP South Central Wayne Mister promised a renewed police response with increased patrols, community outreach, and collaboration with local authorities for better lighting and surveillance. Dyer is the latest in a string of violent incidents in the area, including the kidnapping and murder of nurse Odell Lauman-Baptiste in April. Internationally, Israel is rapidly escalating its assault on Iran, pushing beyond military targets and into the heart of civilian life. What began as precision strikes on nuclear and military infrastructure has now expanded to include fuel depots, government ministries, residential areas, and even a refueling plane struck 2,000 kilometers away at Mashhad Airport. The human toll inside Iran is becoming more apparent as the strikes widen. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has issued a chilling warning, threatening to burn Tehran if Iran continues launching missiles. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists that Israel stands with the Iranian people, even quoting the protest chant, "Woman, life, freedom." But as Israeli civilians endure deadly missile strikes despite the Iron Dome, the government appears more determined than ever to hit back hard. In doing so, Israel walks a dangerous line. Its declared war on Iran's regime and nuclear ambitions is beginning to resemble a war on the Iranian population itself. And that's news at this time. The Breakfast Show continues with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles right after these messages.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
Join me, Brother David Muhammad, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, Powerful Radio. Join me to hear knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
The mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The Mid-Morning Mix and Mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and ringtone.
Come on up here and red boys again. Go and tell all your friends. Girl, I didn't come here for no conversation. I came here for the relaxation. Take a little wine out behind you. With no strings attached, girl. I didn't make no reservation. Before I stick up behind your bam bam. But I move everything cool. Hey, girl, cause a dance is a place where everything is everything. And if you feel like you could wind up on anything, I wanna hold you like I hold the mic when I sing. Once you satisfied, there's no reason to pick off the wedding ring. This is the season for the whining. The only thing you could make me take off tonight is the shirt. Cause all I wanna do is flirt with no strings attached. When I hold on, I can whine on that. That sweet walk don't bother me. You're not make me guilty. I don't care who's watching me. What they see is what they see. This thing between you and me. You're not make me guilty. Girl, if a man come up in your face and track you, saying that the first time he see you, he like you, tell that man is not a fool. No way. You ain't come here for that now. Next thing I'm on right up behind your bum. See, when you look back, you realize you're ugly. Girl, don't make no hasty decision. Why? Why? Cause a dance is a place where everything is everything. And if you feel like you could wind up on anything, I wanna hold you like I hold the mic when I sing.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and ringtone.
So we welcome you inside the second hour of the breakfast show right here on New Era TT Radio, wherever you may be. If you're joining us for the very first time this morning, we are so happy to have you. And just to let you know that when we are through with the breakfast show on M&E TV, well, you can stream with us all throughout the day on newerattradio.com, New Era TT Radio, right? And that's for all you guys on TuneIn, right? So we're getting back to the breakfast show.
Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Digicel Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Trico Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. Of course, we are just about to give you the final poll results before we get into our guest, Karen Nunez-Tesheira, of course, who is on standby in our green room having a cup of coffee and some of the delicious breakfast we provide virtually. So,
you need to send some for me, yes?
It's benefit. You must get here.
So if we can just close up on the morning poll for this morning, and let me just pull it up. This is the morning poll. Do you support the hold on the printing of the new banknotes with the revised coat of arms? And of course, Minister Tancoo did confirm that they did pause on the printing of the new $100 notes with the revised coat of arms, even though he did not provide a reason to why they were doing it. So that's our poll this morning.
Candice Pascal is putting some reasons in the chat, but you can read it if you so desire. We're doing the poll this morning. Good morning. Lester Cragwell says no. Hillbend, no. Susan Jessup, no. Marlon Motley, no. Joyce. Robert Harper, no. Magic, no. Chris Susan, no. Island Girl, no. Ingrid, no. Tom Tucson, no. Rena Jennings, no. Is that it? Margaret Thomas, no. Gillian Dick, no. Slick Money Grip, no. And that's it for votes. Yeah.
Okay. So Anand says yes. Sexy Red says yes. Pauline says no. Afia Lashley says no. Marcus Guide says yes. And Frank Andrews says no.
All right. And one more no came in from Cheryl Seeley. We'll end there. Richard is crumpling the paper as we speak.
Oh, one more.
All right, so our poll this morning. Do you support the hold on the printing of the new banknotes with the revised coat of arms? We had 45.
One more no. Captain Ron. The polls are now closed, people.
Yeah, 46 people.
It's complete paper too quick.
46 people voting on the poll this morning. And of course, the poll is still on your screen. Do you support the hold on the printing of the new banknotes with the revised coat of arms? 46 people voted. 41 of you said no, you do not support the hold on the printing of the new banknotes with the revised coat of arms. 41 of you said no. 5 of you said yes. The nays have it for this morning, and that's it for the end of the poll this morning. That's it. Poll done. All right, and now we move into our Let's Talk segment with our honorary co-host of sorts for this morning, Karen Nunez-Tesheira.
Yeah.
Good morning, Karen Nunez-Tesheira. Thanks for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Good morning to you, Richard, and of course, one of my favorite people. Really, I mean it, Wendell.
Good morning, Mr. Tesheira. You're also one of my favorite people.
And you need to call me Karen, please.
Oh God, it's a love fest this morning. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's always been. It's the big love.
I know you insist on it, but we got a how I should put it, our very esteemed senior journalist.
Above.
Yeah, we go first. He said, do not refer to your guests by their first name. Always call them.
Unless they ask you to do that.
Well, yes, unless they insist. But
okay. Anyhow.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us again, Mr. Sheriff.
Yeah. So we could dive straight into it. I mean, there's several issues happening in finance. One of it being, we could start probably with the Revenue Authority, which was your baby, so to speak, because it happened under your stewardship. And Minister Imbert basically saying that the current government is living in La La Land because of their repeal of the Revenue Authority and the issue of the how should I say the gap in revenue collection, which the Revenue Authority was to address, not only in VAT, but in other areas where there were loopholes, etc. How do you respond to that? Do you think the current government is living in La La Land? Or do you think that
I don't know if he expanded on that particular point. I think based on the article I read, I didn't watch the entire parliamentary debate, but I do know that he was referring specifically to the way in which it was being ruled out, and that he said that they had misrepresented the percentage of persons who accepted the rollout of the Revenue Authority in relation to the what would have been the former employees of the Board of Inland Revenue and Customs. And he said it was not only 32%, but it was more than 75%. And he went in a lot of detail in relation to how that would impact on the work of the Revenue Authority. Go ahead, sorry.
Go on.
Okay. So one of the things that I found a little troubling is when I tried to pull up the first version of the Revenue Authority, which you are right, in 2010, we had passed it in the lower house, and then Mr. Manning called elections and dissolved Parliament. But that version, we had a 3/5 majority, so it was a far more robust and a stronger version of what was eventually passed by a simple majority by this the former PNM administration. But the reasoning is still a very strong one, and I would probably look at the fact that revenue authorities have been established in many countries, Canada, Jamaica, I believe Barbados. And the reason for that is that it's an effort. It's not going to be perfect, but it certainly is an effort to try to deal with the hemorrhaging of over 10 billion. And when I was there, that was what the figures that we're looking at, that because of the inefficiencies of both the Board of Inland Revenue and the Customs, we were seeing the country being deprived of at least $10 billion in revenue. And Gordon Dean, who at that time had been the head of the Chamber of Commerce, had been tasked to provide a report. And among the things, he talked about the inefficiencies, the corruption, which is definitely part of the issues, and it certainly was one of the issues for me in looking at it. And so he outlined all the negatives. And it's not to say that we in Trinidad it's us alone. You mean the fact of the matter, and I think that's where my concern is at this point in time with the version that we do have. So the version that we had before was that all the entire revenue authority was governed by the board and by the director of the TTRE, and that included enforcement arm, and that was the most critical arm as we saw it, meaning that was going to be dealing with the drug trade, the money laundering, and other forms of corruption, because you couldn't work in that division unless you had been requested to come in for an interview, and you had to be drug tested, and you had to be tested for lie detector, like the same thing we were doing in SOT. So you couldn't just go in there, and that was one of the strong points about it. But now that we're looking at you asked me something. Hence, it's okay. So now that we're looking at the current division, which I understand one of the reasons for that version, which is supposed to be repealed, is that we no longer have the 3/5 majority, so that inclusion of that special division with the testing, and we had the Americans Customs Division assisting us in ruling that out. And the reason why it had been changed somewhat is that they added something called the Enforcement Director, and that is the equivalent of what I just spoke about, which is that's really the area where we focus our concerns on, and it left it in the public service. Now, I am not saying anything negative about our public service, but it's no secret that the public service and public service sector reform has been talked about since the days of Gordon Draper, I believe, and up to now, we still have not been able to deal with it. And the issues are, which is dealt with by the Public Service Commission, is issue of transfer, discipline, promotion, and removal. And the fact of the matter, public service all over the world struggle with that, because the fact is that you get security of tenure. Your salary might not be the best, but you get a security of tenure, and it is because you don't really operate in meritocracy, you operate in seniority, so it's a demotivating factor. You don't use human resource management systems in order to determine whether a person should be promoted, whether they should be demoted, or whether you don't have the disciplinary strength that you will have in the private sector. The public service is, it's no secret. So putting it back there, the whole and dissolving the revenue authority and going back to the Customs and Board of Inland Revenue, I cannot see the rationale, because you still have the same problems which caused you to do it in the first place. So if you think it's going to get better, it's all the issues that you were trying to address by setting up a semi-autonomous sort of, it has oversight of the minister. It is being, and I can't see the rationale. And I just want to say one last thing on that. And if there's any question about that issue, the case of Teresa Doré versus the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, which was heard last year, September, by the Privy Council. When her arguments were, at least at the Court of Appeal, the argument that was accepted and the argument that the Court of Appeal adopted was that the argument that the collection of revenue could not be done by a private entity or they had to be done by a public officer. And they said, no, that argument does not hold water. There may be other things that you can't have a private person, which is what the Revenue Authority would become. And it has to be a public servant, a public officer, but it does not arise in the case of the Revenue Authority. But the key thing is, and this is where it's very troubling, when you talk about the Revenue Authority, the Privy Council lady Simler, the famous lady Simler that told our former Minister of Finance, why are you not part of the investigation? That is always been taken. So she was the person who delivered the judgment on behalf of the panel, which was unanimous. And they did not adopt the Court of Appeals point, but their point was this. They looked at Chapter 9 of the Public Service Commission, which is in the Constitution, and whether the fact that you were now implementing this semi-autonomous body, whether it was removing the protection. That's what they spoke about. They said the protection, that the immunization from political pressure, from executive pressure, whether by putting them in this Revenue Authority, that is what was going to be the result. And this is what the Privy Council said. Whether devolving the tax functions of authority would remove or take away the Chapter 9 protection, which is the Public Service Commission for appointing, promoting, removing, and so on, which to ensure public officers are immune from public pressure. There are two things they said. Is that the first is, the question is whether the separate statutory body is genuinely independent and not merely an advice or sham. And the second thing they looked at, whether they were adequate and effective safeguards to ensure that there in fact was independence and sufficient protection for employees from political interference from the executive. The Privy Council said they're satisfied that there was no suggestion that it was a sham or device, and that there were effective safeguards to protect the staff and officers of the authority and members of the public from executive interference. So,
yeah. But you know, I'm hearing you, Karen Nunez-Tesheira. I'm hearing you, Karen. But the issue, I think because obviously the current government is adamant that the Revenue Authority is going to be repealed, and they have and because it's a simple majority that passed it, they can repeal it. They have suggested that they're going to ensure that the Board of Inland Revenue is going to be more efficient in terms of whatever systems they're going to put in place. They haven't been clear, or at least I haven't seen any clarity on what they mean by that. Do you think that the Board of Inland Revenue is sufficiently, as it's structured, that it can do a close proximity to what the Revenue Authority would have been able to do, since they are now repealing the Revenue Authority? Or do you think that there is still going to be a considerable gap in terms of what we collect in terms of tax revenue?
Well, to answer your question, I mean, it would be, to me, why the fact that you moved it out of the public service, it is known, it's not just Trinidad, it's all over the world. All over the world, that when you work in the public sector, you have security of tenure. It's very difficult to remove you. It's very difficult not to promote you based on seniority rather than meritocracy. And it's very difficult to discipline you because of all the checks and balances that are given to a public servant. And that encourages, not just here, all over the world. But in our case, we have to deal with Trinidad and Tobago. And that type of security may be on one hand a good thing, but when you have the Board of Inland Revenue and the Customs be the major entities, in fact, the Board of Inland for collection of our revenue, which goes into your consolidated fund, which is managed by your Minister of Finance, when you have those entities being the major source of the revenue for our government to run the country, it's not just another ministry. It is that's how our government runs a country. And when you go back to a system that is seen to be, if not broken, it's definitely in need of repair. and you have not done anything, you couldn't have because you're not there long enough. And you giving me the assurance that you're going to do it, I don't know how you're going to do it once you're in the public service. And I'm sure the PSC are very happy about that, because the only organ that was left in the revenue, left in the public service, was they created an office called Directive of Enforcement. And that is equivalent to what I was just talking about. And that all the persons who work in that division, as well as the director, would come from the public service and be subject to the public service regulation, which is defeating the not entire, but a significant objective. And even the Privy Council, they said they were not called upon to look at the legislation and how effectively they had determined the role and function of the Director of Enforcement. And they didn't really give, they did signal that they had concerns. But if you're going back to the same system, which will allow for the corruption, the inefficiencies, and so on, because my job is secure and you can't fire me, it's very difficult, and we don't operate on meritocracy, so there's no encouragement to want to really, no incentive or motivation.
Well, I get your point. I get your point with the senior positions in the Board of Inland Revenue, but a lot of positions in the public sector now are contract positions. A big percentile of the public sector is now contract positions, and the normal rules of contract employment would now apply, and they can be difficult to get rid of people if they have been on consecutive contracts. The same rules apply anyway, in terms of on a certain level. I mean, certainly public servants have much more protection. In terms of, and that was intentional coming from the Constitution, etc. But so the senior positions, I can see that, but a lot of the rank and file positions, a lot of them would be filled by contract workers. So is it, you make it seem as if that security of tenure of public service positions is a bad thing for the country.
Yeah, well, if I'm giving that impression, I do not intend to give that impression. I work in public service myself. I'm just saying that it facilitates. It's not about Trinidad. That's human nature. It facilitates, because if you can't move me and you can't fire me and you have to remove because I've been there 10, 20 years or whatever it is, it facilitates the same thing, that the reason that was the major driving force for many jurisdictions to replace their former position in the public service to create this entity. That is, I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying it doesn't help. And with respect to the issue on contract, I think I can't pronounce his name, Schabenberg or whatever it is, that case in labor law. I mean, I can see folks like Anna Ramlogan, who's known. I'm only saying his name because he's very well known for his advocacy in that field. I can see them saying that what you call in a contract is really has morphed into more than a contract, but into and maybe we need to have a case dealing with that. So I don't know that saying, and secondly, yes, the persons at the lower end can be part of the problem, but the people at the top can really be part of the problem. So if you're saying the problem will occur more at the upper end, well, then they're the ones making decisions. I imagine they're the ones saying, go after this one, go after that one, investigate this one, investigate that one. I'm not, listen, I worked in public service nearly until in a semi-public service when I went to teach at the law school. So I am not advocating against the public servant. I'm facing the reality. And the reality is, why do you want to get out of the public? Why is this call for public service reform? If it was working, and if it was not encouraging the same things that I mentioned, and therefore facilitating the same things which will affect your collection of revenue, and also affect this whole issue with regard to money laundering, because you're given up. The intention is that you're given one number, personal identification number. And so however you, if you have an interest in a company, your private returns, it's all collected into one. So they have a picture of everything that you have. And so the system for the Revenue Authority, in my view, was good for the public servants. There are a lot of them who supported it. A lot of them wanted it because they were frustrated with the fact that, because we did do outreach with them, we met with them several times, and a lot of them welcomed it because they felt that they were not being promoted. they would not be acknowledged for their contribution. They had to rely on the seniority thing. So it's not everyone didn't want it. A lot of them did want it. Not everybody inside there is corrupt. It only takes one bad apple to spoil the whole bunch. But the fact of the matter, that one bad apple is able to do a lot of damage because it's public service.
Yeah. So, Ms. Tesheira, I mean, I'm agreeing with a lot of what you're saying.
That's refreshing.
No, seriously, because you're right. It breeds a level of inefficiency and corruption that you want to get rid of. But so then this may not just be about a campaign promise then, because the People's Partnership in their first iteration, 2010 to 2015, they were about to do it before they left office, not so? In other words, get the Revenue Authority up and running and property tax and so on. So what caused this remarkable shift now that they have actually repealed about to repeal the act?
Well, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but if I had to take a guess on it, which I suspect you have the same thinking and others will have it, I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense. And also to just be there within a matter of 2 months to make that such a priority, and be so adamant about repealing it completely, and without you putting in systems and structures that will convince the public that you do have these system structures in the BIR and customs that will deal with the same issues that the Revenue Authority was intended to think. So, I mean, the haste with which you are asking that, one has to wonder if it has something to do with the support that the UNC and when it was campaigning got from the PSA, because they did get support.
Yeah. But what makes you think that the public is that interested? I don't think the public is that interested. I think the public who are not part of the BIR were kind of like, what does this mean for me? The Revenue Authority, the Board of Inland Revenue, they're not really looking at the intricacies of we discussing it because we in the media and you're an expert in the field. But for a lot of the public, this is where they get the information, the analyzing of the two issues. But obviously, this was one of their campaign promises, that they were going to repeal it. And of course, it connects to the PSA. It connects to some of the dissatisfied members of the Board of Inland Revenue who did, because obviously there were cases that went to court that challenged the Revenue Authority. So obviously there was, and the PSA was one of them. So obviously there was a dissatisfaction from their members. It didn't happen by magic. There was some inherent dissatisfaction with some of the members of the PSA for the introduction of the Revenue Authority, and obviously the UNC aligned with that as one of their campaign promises. Hence why they are doing it. But the broader issue, which I suppose is what Colm Imbert was attempting to raise in Parliament, is this really going to affect their revenue collection in a way that doesn't give them the necessary funds to run the country? Because that's what he seemed to intimate by what he was saying. But is that an exaggeration, for example?
Well, we said a lot there, but I will say this. I imagine members of the public, and remember we don't pay tax if your income is $90,000 or less per year, right? So there are a lot of people who make less than $7,000. That's rounded around $75,000 a month. Okay, so who are the people who will be most affected? Is it business community? Do they want that? Do they want you to be able to come after them and have to pay the taxes? No, because there is admission that there's tax evasion as opposed from tax avoidance, which you can do. But tax evasion in the amount of about $10 billion, and who would be the major perpetrators of that? It obviously would be the business community, persons working for a good salary, if I want a better word. And when I made that statement, I was talking about the people who work in the Revenue Authority, because they get frustrated. I'm just based on, I was there many years ago, but I don't think it would have changed. They felt, the persons who work, employees, felt that in board and the customs, that this seniority thing, this and they knew about some of the corruption. They couldn't touch these people. These people were protected, and being in the public service with all the rules, which I've said time and time again, did not help to address those issues. So nothing is a silver bullet. It's not going to be a silver bullet. But what Colm Imbert is saying, maybe he might have. I think he's dealing with two things. He wanted to show that there was much more support in the Board of Inland Customs for the Revenue Authority by the numbers, and I think that's more or less because a lot of them are decent, hardworking, and they want to see the Revenue Authorities there, and they want to see them get promotion, right? So I don't think I think that's what he was advocating on the point of whether. Of course, members of the public, I mean, who are working for, as I said, that type of salary or running businesses, they would not be happy to have, they can't come out and the chambers can't come out and say, we don't support it. No, they wouldn't come out and say that. That would be, foolhardy at best. But a lot of it comes from the public service. They have a union. When you do that, they can form a union of the members, I believe, if I reckon, because that's one of the concerns. But then they would have to go for recognition, certification, and all of that, because they would no longer be part of the public service. So I'm not so sure about the union losing membership and that's thousands of people that work in Ministry of Finance. I think it's the biggest, if it's one of the biggest ministries, you have valuation. Yeah, well, that doesn't affect this, but the Board of Inland Revenue and the Customs is a huge number of persons employed there. So they're looking at their own survival too, in terms of losing a lot of their membership. And also, of course, the business community. So, nobody's going to, a lot of people won't be happy. But if you're talking about the country, I mean, that's how the world is. People look after their own interests. The world is about self-interest. There are very few people who will truly put country before their own interests. They will mask it by saying they're concerned about the country. But if you go behind that, it's always about them. And money are the major driving forces.
Yeah, but the Board of Inland Revenue, I mean, coming back to the basic question, can the Board of Revenue in its current construct meet the revenue collection needs of the government? That's the basic.
I think I must not be very clear. I have to say I'm not being very clear to you, Richard. I am saying to you that it is not the only consideration, but I'm saying to you that dismantling it and everybody stay in the public service. It is the public service, how it operates. And it's not, I keep saying it's not here alone, the bureaucracy, the thing that Draper spoke about. People have written about it, modernizing and reforming the public service. It is that very fact that allows or facilitates a lot of the concerns of inefficiency, lack of incentive, lack of motivation, inability to fire when you have a person like Anna Ramlogan taking up your case. And that in itself allows persons, if they are so minded, to feel a level of comfort and protection because of the way that the public service is known to operate as opposed to private sector. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, well,
you're not convinced. I mean,
I hear you giving the theoretical argument, but you're not really answering.
It's not theoretical because you said at the very beginning.
It is theoretical on a certain level because the Board of Inland Revenue currently exists in its current construct, and they are collecting revenue in its current construct.
But then, listen, Richard, you asked me because you said it's not only that theoretically I understood it, but I understood it on a practical level. And as a minister and as a politician, there are some things you could not come out and say to the public. I am not in that level of concern. And I'm saying to you that when Gordon Dean did his report, it is known that a lot of the reasons why you have the inefficiency, corruption, and the lack of collection of the revenue, it is not a silver bullet, but a lot has to do with it being in the public service, and what the public service, which has not been reformed, has not been modernized, allows or facilitates. That is the answer, and it is the answer. It's not theory, it is the practice. I do not know how to say it again. I mean, that had a large part to do with it, and that is why a lot of them did not want it. Those who did not want it, did not want the removal of the protection that the Police Service Commission, when you have a tribunal, then you go and appeal and up and down. And the other thing, I was a minister in the Ministry of Finance, and there were officers inside that I was very unhappy about. But I was told, you're going to waste your time because number one, Nobody is going to talk and squeal on the other, say anything when you want to go and take action. There were one or two people that I did want to take action against, and they were highly insubordinate to me. And I was told by the permanent secretary at the time, you're wasting your time because you're not going to get them to squeal on each other. You're not going to get the evidence. You're going to frustrate yourself and tie up yourself with the public service. And that's what I knew. And I experienced it personally myself. The frustration I had with some of them. And let me tell you, they were senior persons. And the way that they acted as law unto themselves, that you couldn't tell them anything. Because guess what? They'll still be there and you're gone. And they would directly, it wasn't even hidden, overtly challenge your authority. So don't tell me that they don't do it. And why they could do it is because of the protection that they have, and they knew it.
Birds of passage, that's what they called us politicians. Birds of passage.
Yes, and that is a fact. And I dealt with it. It was so frustrating in one particular case, directly insubordinate, directly not taking my instructions, and they were reasonable, very reasonable, and just ignored me. And when I complained to the permanent secretary, she said, well, you're going to have a hard time with that, because all of them know each other. They support each other because one day is you, next day is them. And you go into the Public Service Commission and the tribunal and the appeal thing and then the court and the Privy Council. By the time you finish, it's 10 years have gone, you've gone into your life and you didn't do anything, they're ready to retire. That's reality, not theory.
Yeah.
That's reality.
Do you subscribe to the fact that do you subscribe to the fact that I think I read an article over the weekend, I can't remember the name of the guy who had said that in order to fix this forex situation, we may very well have, and these are my words, to devalue the dollar.
I don't think we could devalue. I saw Roger Hussein, which I sent him a message this morning. I was very, very impressed with that article he wrote, read, I think about it's effective, that kind of de-dollarization. So to answer your question, no situation is going to give you a perfect answer, but even his article in a way indirectly references the difficulty of devaluing, because if it is, yes, you can say devaluation can help because the energy sector is important, but even if you saw the central bank report, it indicates that the energy sector, and I think it's the natural gas and LNG, underperformed both in terms of the pricing and production, and where the performance happened was in the petrochemical, but then it was price. The pricing had a lot to do with it. So what I'm saying is they're saying that the manufacturing sector was a major contributor. But if you look at Roger Hussein's article today, excellent article, and you read the central bank's report, and everyone who talks about it is how much of the input into the manufacturing sector is imported. How much of the tins that they use for the corn, the dirty black beans, to put all those things, how much of that the input is imported? And importing it, where are you importing it from? Not Caribbean islands, where you could use that new system that they have implemented, but you're having to do with US dollars. So when you weigh the balance against each other, even the manufacturing sector, which is being touted as being the savior and creating all this foreign exchange, you have to balance it against how much they pay in foreign exchange to bring it. And they gave the example, just last one, is with the fuel. The central bank didn't directly say it, but you have to know is that they're talking about $400 and something million we are paying importing fuel. And that fuel is being used for the intra-regional thing, but they are paying with TT dollars for that. And that is eroding our foreign exchange position. And that is what you need until the dollarization really happens, until the BRICS countries really are able to remove the US as the petrodollar as the currency of choice, until China is able to do that, India is able to do that, Brazil is able to do that. Until you really are able to do that, the US dollar is king, and people they have the confidence in the greenback, and they will trade in the greenback. And when you don't have it, they don't want your TT dollars unless you're dealing with intra-regional trade.
All right. There's been another issue also too. Richard is more familiar with this one than I am. The issue with the Auditor General and the central bank, and of course the instructions coming from the Prime Minister. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's very sad that it has reached to that, because when you're looking at managing the economy, there are two major players in that: the central bank under the Central Bank Act of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Minister of Finance under the Exchequer and Audit Act, among other legislation. So it's a very unfortunate thing it has reached that. So what is the position? So I did look it up, and I went to her special report in which a number of documents were attached. And essentially, Hilaire, the current central bank governor, he did not use the office of the Exchequer and Audit, the Auditor General, to audit the accounts of the central bank last year, 2024. And I'm sure that came from the 2023 I don't even know what to say about that. It's really terrible, actually. And so he said that and a way in which, a very terse way in which he dealt with it. And bottom line, and I'll just get back to what it was, he was saying that he quoted Section 51, which the Prime Minister did quote also, and they said that the accounts of the bank will be audited annually by auditors who shall be appointed by the board each year, but the key words are with the approval of the minister, and the Minister of Finance. So clearly in 2024, when they were still in government, the PNM and Colm Imbert was still the minister, he clearly did not disapprove and may have actively approved using an external auditor, because it's no secret the tense and unfortunate, relationship between Minister of Finance and the Auditor General, as well as, I guess, the central bank governor getting caught in the crosshairs. So what would have aggravated the situation? So now the Prime Minister says, well, I read 52.1. So now I am giving the current Minister of Finance to say that they are to return to using the Auditor General, because any external auditor must be with the approval of the minister. And they asked him, which I found was worrying to me, actually, when they asked him, this external auditor you're using, what is it costing? He would not answer. What did it cost to use the Auditor General? Did you pay for it? He would not say how much. He said, yes, we paid it, but he would not answer how much was paid. And then we know that the breakdown with the central bank in any event and the Auditor General, when under the Exchequer and Audit Act, Section 9192 in particular, she is authorized to public accounts to collect all. If you read 92, it's even very clear. She says the Auditor General satisfy himself that all issues and payments were made in accordance with proper authority, and that payments were properly chargeable and are supported by sufficient vouchers or proof of payment. And she has that authority in the 91, her function. And I gathered that the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, when they filed by the last date, statutory date, January 31st, 2023, they filed the unsigned accounts from the Treasury, which is the Minister of Finance. It declared that the revenue was in the vicinity of $62-something billion. Then in April, after much going and coming and going, whatever, they then the amount that was over 2.6 billion difference. And the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance identified the new central bank electronic check clearing system, and as you go platform, as the reason for the disparity, a huge amount of over nearly $3 billion TT dollars. And what she did, she asked, as Auditor General, to have a walk through, her or her officers, to walk through because that was identified as the problem, and was asked to see it. And because it was new, and she wanted to see where the problem, what you put in, what you put out, she wanted to see how it operated. And she wrote and asked to see it. And then he wrote back to her on the 28th of June and said to her, well, you need to tell me why. No, 26th of June, he said, you need to tell me why you need to see it. So she told him why. And she told him what her authority was for asking for that, because she has to settle the financial accounts, public accounts of Trinidad and Tobago. And your department is playing an important part as the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance identified. And he wrote a very terse answer, I thought it was really hard. He said very terse answer. I want to say exactly what he said, which is rather didn't help the relationship with Paul. He said to her, gosh, I'm looking for it. Anyway, he said in a one-line answer, he's not going to allow her to examine the electronic, he cannot allow her to do it.
Well, the relationship between the Auditor General and the Central Bank apparently ended in 2023 when the Central Bank went to the external auditors, the EOD. But information coming to us this morning was that the Auditor General themselves ended the audit relationship with the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. And the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago had to scramble to get external auditors because there was an audit relationship that existed for the last 13 years prior to 2023. The Auditor General, the information coming to us this morning, as the premier morning talk show in the country.
Self-praise is no recommendation,
was that the Auditor General ended the relationship.
Yeah, no.
And the Central Bank scrambled. So I think that's probably the genesis of the relationship issue.
Yes. Okay. What I will say to that, and I should have said that in front, I should have back-ended and front-ended it with that. I don't think we know the whole story.
Yeah.
I do not think we know the whole story.
Yeah.
Because I do not think that the central bank governor is not a professional.
Yeah.
I think what muddied the waters a lot for him was the standoff between Colm Imbert and what appeared to be between himself and the Auditor General. And it seemed to get personal. And he got caught, as I use the word, in the crosshairs. Yeah. So I should have said that at the very inception, because I was looking at it and I said, something about this is not adding up. And I know from experience being in government, you really, a lot of times, you think you know what happened, but you really don't know what happened. Yeah. So I will concede. I will not only concede, it's not a concession, because it's not that I feel you have to drag me to agree with you.
Oh, God, concede, man. Oh, God, concede.
No, I'm not conceding. I'm not waving a white flag. But you want to make more. You already say you have the number one premier say. You want to make bacchanal on the show or what? So all joking aside, I did think about it this morning. I said something not adding up here. Something not adding up here. I think it's there's more to it than me saying.
Yeah, and strangely enough, Karen, and of course you can testify to this, and for a lot of the listening and viewing public, a lot of the issues really all come down to human relationships.
True, very
it true. Always comes down to that,
That is very, very true.
And that's when things are tested and limits are tested because of human relationships. And
very, very true. I would say not all, but in a large majority of cases. It's it's one-upmanship, and because you see people who in politics or who either in politics, some persons accepted, we shall not call names, but persons in political life, as well people very seen in the public service, they suffer a little bit from what they call hubris, a sense of importance, and their egos are very fragile at the same time because
that has happened to politicians. I didn't realize.
Exactly. I agree with you. I'm not. Right, we go. So they are very sensitive and have fragile egos, and that they need the applause of the public. They thrive on it. It's like people.
Is that Mr. Imbert, Mr. Sherry referring to?
Oh Lord!
Well, I think Mr. Imbert. I worked with him. I mean, I was in government with him, and he's a very bright man. Let me just say that.
Oh, that's a really important message, boy.
A front ending, because his back end not going to be so good. So he's a very bright man. He does understand the structure of our cabinet and the ministries because he worked in many of them. Mm-hmm. And so from that point of view, and he's very convincing. You see him in Parliament. He's very convincing, and he's a smart man.
He's a brilliant debater.
He probably does not like being challenged. Let's put it that way. And he took it personally because if you have to go by what happened with the Privy Council, that is. I wrote. Somebody sent me. I guess everybody's gotten it, but I didn't just see why wasn't the minister not investigated? But Lady Simler said more than that. She used the words things like disingenuous and. She was very, for the Privy Councillors, they tend to be the masters of understatement and certainly do not like to make things personal. They like to keep it from a little. But I saw, this is actually not somebody telling me she said that, but what she did say. And Douglas Mendes was, flummoxed. He didn't know what to say. He kept saying, I mean, I don't know how often that happens to him, but it happened that day. He kept on saying, and he's trying to dig himself out of that hole. And he could not. And she was very direct about it. I mean, it made him look really, really bad. Made him look vindictive and spiteful. I mean, they wouldn't use those words. But disingenuous is he used that word to me when I used that word once in a meeting, and he took me to task, and he said to me, "You can't tell somebody called a person disingenuous," but I live to hear him being called disingenuous. What goes around comes around.
And that's a good place to end it, because time is upon us. We have to go to our 8 o'clock news. But so, Karen Nunez-Tesheira, always a pleasure to speak with you and to get the information and your fiery opinions on issues.
Okay.
We appreciate
passionate. I put it passionate. It would be good.
Yeah, but you're in a little red or orange top there, so I say fiery.
You see, I can't please y'all, you know. I try to say, what color you gonna put on? If I put on yellow, they say that. I put on red, I say that. If I put on blue, I say I'm running out of colors, you know. And they went down to how we did today. We did
fine. We did excellent.
There we are.
So thank you so much, Karen Nunez-Tesheira. Thanks for speaking with us. We appreciate you always and conversing with us.
Okay, bye-bye. Mrs. Chair. Bye-bye. Of course, that was former Finance Minister Karen Nunez-Tesheira weighing in on quite a few topical issues as we go to the 8 o'clock news. And when we come back, we'll say our goodbyes. Not so, Richard?
Absolutely. Over to you, Sir Charles.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
Good day. This is news on New Era TT Radio and M and ETV. I'm Derek, in for Amanda today, who has the day off. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has directed Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo to use the law to ensure the Auditor General audits the central bank's accounts. Speaking in Parliament, she raised concern over reports that the Auditor General no longer audits the central bank, which instead hired private firm BDO T&T for the 2024 fiscal year. Auditor General Jaiwandi Ramdas also reported difficulties accessing government financial data managed by the bank. Persad-Bissessar cited Section 52 of the Central Bank Act, which empowers the Finance Minister to mandate the Auditor General to conduct such audits. She insisted this is a legal requirement, not an option. Calling for transparency, she urged, do not hide the accounts, and challenged officials to follow the law in the public interest. Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo has ordered the central bank to halt printing of Trinidad and Tobago's newly redesigned $100 polymer banknote, which was set to feature the national coat of arms with the steel pan replacing Columbus ships. Speaking to the media on Sunday, Minister Tancoo confirmed the suspension, but did not disclose the reason behind the decision. The central bank has since instructed its UK-based printer, De La Rue, to stop all work related to the new note, which was scheduled for circulation by October 2025. The halt follows signs of tension between the central bank and the government, as Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar recently called for an audit of the bank's accounts, citing long-standing concerns from the Auditor General over access to key financial systems. This marks the second delay in the bill's rollout. The first came after the previous administration under Dr. Keith Rowley moved to replace the colonial-era ships with the steel pan on the national emblem. The current $100 polymer note from 2019 remains in circulation. Former Finance Minister Colm Imbert has accused the new UNC-led government of living in La La Land, warning that their decision to repeal the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, TTRA, will cripple efforts to boost revenue collection. Speaking in Parliament on Friday, Imbert slammed Finance Minister Davendranath Tancoo, claiming he was relying on a magic wand approach to fix long-standing issues in customs and inland revenue without the tools or political will to succeed. Imbert said without the semi-autonomous TTRA, the government will face massive budget deficits and warned that it won't be able to raise the $60 to $70 billion needed to cover its election promises. He disputed the claim that only 32% of staff opted to transfer to the TTRA, saying 75% made a choice under the Act, including nearly 50% who transferred directly to the authority. San Fernando East MP Brian Manning echoed Imbert's warnings, predicting that if the TTRA is scrapped, debt and economic hardship will follow. The TTRA was introduced by the previous administration to modernize and improve tax collection efficiency. The Ministry of People, Social Development and Family Services has launched an urgent probe into videos circulating on social media, allegedly showing abuse and neglect of disabled children at a church-run children's home in Trinidad and Tobago. The footage includes scenes of children lying unattended on the ground, one outside in the sun, and another being shouted at by a staff member. In some clips, caregivers appear to be sleeping or inattentive. The Children's Authority has begun an immediate investigation, including interviews with staff and residents and inspections of the facility, some of which will be unannounced. The ministry has pledged to treat the issue with the highest urgency. Acting Police Commissioner Junior Benjamin also vowed to look into the matter, saying, "We need to ensure we protect our children." Meanwhile, a source claims the videos were compiled by a disgruntled ex-employee aiming to discredit the institution. Trinidad and Tobago's next top cop has been confirmed. Senior Superintendent Alistair Guevara received unanimous support in Parliament on Friday to become the country's new Commissioner of Police. Speaking after the vote, Guevara vowed to confront crime head-on and make every place in Trinidad and Tobago safe, acknowledging urgent issues such as school violence, gang influence, firearm crime, and public distrust in policing. He also pledged to work with the media and stakeholders across society. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar endorsed Guevara's appointment, slamming the previous administration for allegedly subverting the cop selection process and failing to uphold public trust. Attorney General John Jeremy also took aim at the former government, accusing it of interfering in police appointments, remarks that drew desk-thumping support from government MPs. Despite sharp exchanges in the House, opposition MPs, including Marvin Gonzalez, voiced support for Guevara, calling him professional and independent. Guevara now steps into the role with broad political backing and the nation watching. The discovery of 20-year-old Savannah Dyer's body in Carlson Field has reignited fears that the rural community is becoming a dumping ground for murder victims. Dyer, who was from Diego Martin, was found with marks of violence on Shearies Road by the TPS Predial Larceny Squad early Saturday morning. Police suspect she was killed elsewhere and left in the area. Residents and farmers expressed deep concern, saying crime in the area has surged. Shiraz Khan, a farmer and past victim of crime, highlighted poor lighting and road conditions as major factors enabling criminal activity. He called for urgent action beyond just police patrols. ACP South Central Wayne Mister promised a renewed police response with increased patrols, community outreach, and collaboration with local authorities for better lighting and surveillance. Dyer is the latest in a string of violent incidents in the area, including the kidnapping and murder of nurse Odell Lauman-Baptiste in April. Internationally, Israel is rapidly escalating its assault on Iran, pushing beyond military targets and into the heart of civilian life. What began as precision strikes on nuclear and military infrastructure has now expanded to include fuel depots, government ministries, residential areas, and even a refueling plane struck 2,000 kilometers away at Mashhad Airport. The human toll inside Iran is becoming more apparent as the strikes widen. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has issued a chilling warning, threatening to burn Tehran if Iran continues launching missiles. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists that Israel stands with the Iranian people, even quoting the protest chant, "Woman, life, freedom." But as Israeli civilians endure deadly missile strikes despite the Iron Dome, the government appears more determined than ever to hit back hard. In doing so, Israel walks a dangerous line. Its declared war on Iran's regime and nuclear ambitions is beginning to resemble a war on the Iranian population itself. And that's news at this time. The Breakfast Show continues with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles right after these messages.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Morning vibes, fresh energy. This is the Net Radio Breakfast Show.
All right, so we are back.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now, what are you waiting for?
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Digicel Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Tricode Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV.
All right, so we are back, and this, of course, is our winding up of the Breakfast Show this morning as we head to 8:15, which is our sign-off time, as we sign off on all platforms, including M&E TV. Of course, you can watch the rebroadcast later on in the day on M&E TV at around 2 p.m., not so when?
Between 2 and 3 p.m., yes.
Between 2 and 3 p.m.
Always comes
out. Yeah, you can rewatch the program, or you can watch it if you missed it and you're now joining us. Why are you so late?
Yeah, it's on YouTube right through 24 hours. And of course,
yeah, so you can always rewatch the program. So a lot of people rewatch it or watch it for the first time when it's convenient to them. But we do appreciate you choosing us as your morning talk show. Trust me, we do appreciate it, and we do appreciate you interacting with us on the Breakfast Show.
Of course, this week, as I say, it's a short week. It's only 3 days. We only have worked 3 days. And of course, the PNM internal election is coming up on the weekend. So we'll try to get one or two of the candidates, one or two of the people who are vying.
Tomorrow on Wednesday, because that's the only days you have for them?
Yeah, tomorrow on Wednesday. You know, it could be short.
See if you could get the opposition leader, Penelope Beckles Robinson.
I will also.
She hasn't sleep, not so?
Yes, I will also try to get her on Wednesday.
We're also trying to get the change makers, even if they don't want to be on screen.
Who are they?
Our best, you know.
Well, we don't know who they are, but
they ain't get no information at all. Nobody ain't whisper in the ears. Is FC, is AG, is.
But Farai Masaisai, who is vying to be the chairman, which is the top position in the party outside of political leader, he has consented to do an interview. So we will try to get him tomorrow for a brief moment. Maybe we could try a couple of the others too, because Roger Boynes had a lot to say lately with a letter that he penned to the General Secretary concerning the lists and so on. You know, so there seems to be some issues that we could get various opinions on. Both Farai and Roger Boynes are both attorneys at law, so they are well versed in what they are about.
Who else is going up for Chairman Wendell?
It's for Chinua Allen, the mayor of Port of Spain, Marvin Gonzalez, who is the member of parliament for Lupino Bonia, and also Farai Masaisai. Those are the three people who are vying for the position as chairman.
Who are you voting for?
Who I voting for? Probably none, but I haven't given that much thought as yet. You know, I haven't given that much thought as yet. The only one person has asked me out of the three. That's Farai. You know, because people are actually personally calling people and asking for support. Abin Brooks has called me. She is youth officer. She called me. The other candidates have not. So maybe they know my opinion because I've been speaking it openly on radio. I'm giving my support without asking to two people. They guarantee them my support. Irene Hines, very hard worker, despite what people say about her. She's a very hard worker, and I know she will still continue to work hard for the PNM. and Maxine Richards, who also replaced Joycelyn Button as one of the best welfare officers. Maxine Richards is a very hard worker. So those two people don't need to ask
Maxine was in SAGs with my sister.
Yeah, they don't need to ask me for their support. The others, if they do or if they don't, it doesn't matter. I will decide on the day if I'm voting and who I'm voting for.
All right, well, this is where we end the breakfast show this morning. Hope you had a fantastic day and do enjoy a fantastic morning with us. And do have a fantastic day. Whatever you do, remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. And keep listening on New Era TT Radio on the stream, newerattradio.com, or you can follow us on all of your smart devices, etc., etc. Of course, we have more programming that comes up later on in the day. Do not go anywhere.
Folks, remember, you have one life, you need to live it. All right? Trust me. Because you see,
this has been The Breakfast Show. Have a great day.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes turned